Okay, back with another Portable Clint. Guys, I have a friend here who's been my friend for over 19 years. He's taught me, he's yelled at me, he's got me into trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Beltzman. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. Mark,
Hi.
Hey buddy, how are you, man?
It's me and Portable Clint.
Portable Clint and Maui Mark.
Right on. Okay,
Yeah.
so here's how I want to start.
Okay.
Clint, you have been such an inspiration to not only me, but so many people around this town. Every time I've seen you for 2 fucking decades, you have a huge, fat Corpus Christi, Texas smile, and you just ooze love and gratitude like a fucking waterfall. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that what they see in this is the man I see every time I see you walking down the street in Larchmont, on an audition, on a job, anything. It doesn't change.
Well, Mark, thank you so much.
I don't know where you get your fucking, where you cry or bitch, but I've never seen it.
Okay, Mark, appreciate all that.
Yeah,
okay, but this
now
is
fuck
about,
you.
yeah, exactly. This is about you, not me. But let me tell you, let me start off by saying this. I probably run into you more than anyone else in
Randomly,
LA.
yeah.
But mainly here and Larchmont Boulevard and, you know, and like you said, at auditions.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, you and I have both been inspired. Wait, what word am I looking for? Inspired. Thank you. By John Belushi and John Candy. Okay, so whenever those stories come up, please tell us about it when I ask questions. Like anytime you could, say stories about those guys, please do. So you are from Detroit. Is this correct?
Born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Yeah.
And when did you move? When did you leave Detroit?
Let's see. In 1985, I moved to Chicago. January 5th, 1985. I had been taking Michael Gelman's class in Chicago and commuting from Detroit to Chicago to take his workshop. And I had already met Del in a workshop in Detroit.
Del Close.
Yeah. And
Please
so,
say first and last names.
Del Close.
Thank you.
Clint Coe. Michael Gelman. Mark Beltzman.
Okay.
So January 5th, 1985, I actually took the balls by the bull by the horns, moved to Chicago, and was studying with Michael Gelman. He got me into Del's workshop. And then in August of that year, 1985, I got hired by Second City. So in the between there was the birth of Improv Olympic, which is now known as IO.
Okay, what made you go to Chicago? Why? What was the thing inside of you that said, I want to go, I want to pack my car up and
Well,
go?
it was Second City, hands down. I was in an improv group where I met my wife, Beverly Lubin, last name.
Great lady.
Wonderful woman, still to this day, 37 years.
Awesome.
Really great. And I've been doing that, and so I've been doing a lot of improv and comedy
But
and
did
sketch.
you grow up as a
And then
kid?
I saw Second City on TV, and then I saw Second City Touring Company in Detroit, and this is how we all start. We all go, you see a Second City show or something, you're like, man, I want to do that for a living. And
Yeah.
you keep going back to Second City, and you watch the improv sets for free every night, and one day you're like, man, I think I could do that. And then you keep going back and you get better and better, more experience, keep studying, and then one day you're like, I should fucking be up there.
Yeah, okay.
And then you audition, and if you're lucky enough, fortunate, knock on wood, I've had that experience and been very fortunate that I got hired at Second City and went through the whole almost 7 years at Second City.
Tell me the number one thing Del Close taught you.
Follow your fear. If you accomplish what you're afraid of, it's so much more gratifying than accomplishing what you know you can do. So if you're afraid of something, you should not only not avoid it, but lean into it and accomplish it, which will give you the gratification of accomplishing something better than you perceive yourself to be.
Okay, that was so easy. Is there something else he also taught you? Because I'm so jealous
Drugs.
that I didn't.
Taught
Did
me
he?
to use- He was very encouraging about mind expansion, whether it was LSD, cocaine, heroin, marijuana, hash.
And he
whatever.
he taught you that during class, or is this after class? Like, tell me about that.
The first time I met Del was in Detroit at a workshop. Jonathan Round was the director of the Detroit Times Theater Company, where I met Beverly Lubin. And when he was teaching the workshop, it was in a school called Lycée International, which was a prep school for kids. and it was run by Senator John Faxon, who was the senator in Michigan who was the first one to introduce a non-smoking bill into Congress. And Del would stand on stage rolling joint after joint and chain smoking cigarettes the entire time during the workshop, literally smoking dope while teaching in the classroom. Senator Faxon would be in the back of the room pulling his fucking hair out. And it was really hilarious. That was my introduction to Del.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
We
you
got a lot to unpack here.
okay? Who do you meet on your journey there at Second City that has gone on to be great? I guess I'm looking for names, but I'm not looking for names. But somebody who's talk to me, something neat about that experience.
Well, I had the privilege of working with so many amazing people. I mean, you know, the really famous people would come back and play with us. You know, I met John Candy at Second City. I met.
Okay, wait. Okay, but you say you met John Candy. John Candy would hook you up later in life, right? After, because he met you, you guys became friends. Or tell me about that.
Sort of. No, that was a John Hughes connection, because John Hughes and John Candy were very good friends, and I was again fortunate enough to audition for John Hughes many times, and you know, I guess he liked me because I kept bringing me back for stuff, and I got hired to be. The tuba player in the polka band in Home Alone, and then I was in Curly Sue, and I got cut out of Curly Sue, I got cut out of Uncle Buck. That was the first movie I did with John Candy and John Hughes. It was 2 days of just so much fun, and it all got cut out of the movie.
But there's some clips out there, because I feel like I've seen you with Uncle Buck, like you were playing poker or something like that. Didn't you show me a picture one time?
Yeah,
like
there was some footage. I used to have an old footage of that stuff, but a manager of mine lost it at one time.
Okay, so you're in Chicago, you start working at Second City, you're hanging out with famous people, and I say famous people just because I've seen so many pictures of you, Belts, and like there's a whole bunch of group pictures. I'm like, oh dude, that guy, I know that guy, I know that guy. So that's the reason why I'm bringing it up, just because you've come across a lot of...
I've rubbed elbows with a lot of talented famous
Yes, you
people.
have.
Yeah.
Tell me about your love for John Belushi.
Well, I never knew John. I never met him.
But you have one of his
he was-
jackets or something? What do you have?
I
of his?
used to. I got rid of all that stuff. But yeah, I used to have his robe.
Why would you get rid of it? Why would you get rid of it?
I gave his robe back to Jim.
Okay. Jim who?
Jim Belushi.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just an act of kindness. I thought it should go back home.
Can I ask, when you gave it to him, what he said? What did he say? Like, yeah, just put it over there with the other crap I got?
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, why did I give it back? Is that true?
That's true. Yeah, there was no gratitude whatsoever. The man doesn't know gratitude.
But you say that.
He's been very kind to me.
Yeah, he's been very kind to you. Okay, but I want to get to that story in a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you start, your first credit on IMDb is Home Alone. And so that's your first project that you did?
That's the first movie I got left in. I got cut out of a lot of stuff before that. But yeah. And I don't even have any lines in it. I mean, it shouldn't even be on my...
But it doesn't do it. You're in
resume.
it. It's not like, oh, there's Mark. No, you're in it because you're in the back of the, the back of the...
I'm the tuba player in the polka band.
Right, but you guys took a...
Well, there's a great story about that.
Let me hear
in the back of the van.
Yes, back of the van. Thank you.
John Candy was talking to John Hughes and Chris Columbus. Home Alone was the first movie he ever directed. And they go, Mark, come over here. We got this idea. We're going to be in the back of the van. And they give me the whole scenario. And they go, do you have any ideas? And I came up with a whole bunch of ideas. And they were all laughing. We were having a good time. So cut to later that night. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. John Candy only had 1 day to shoot that whole movie. So we were going on hour 20, setting up for the fourth meal of the day. And John Hughes and Chris Columbus go, okay, fuck it. We're just going to do a 2-shot on John Candy and Catherine O'Hara. You guys pretend like you're asleep. So we all nod, and then John Candy says all the stuff that I came up with in that little
Awesome.
idea meeting, and they yell cut, and then John Candy goes, hey kid, I used all your stuff, I hope you don't mind.
Which I'm sure you did it, right?
I was so thrilled.
Yeah,
I was
man.
thrilled. I didn't have enough experience to ask for a writing credit, but it doesn't matter. I was just thrilling to be in that room, to be in that van, to be in that experience. 20 hours shooting with John Candy. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I would just love that. Okay, so you do Home Alone. What's the next project in Chicago that you do before you move to LA?
Mo Money.
Mo Money.
I co-starred in Mo Money with Damon Wayans.
How do you like Damon Wayans? I love Damon Wayans. I haven't seen him forever, but he was very nice to me at one time in my life.
He was very, he was like a mentor. You know, he gave me a lot of advice. And
Anything good that you could repeat?
Well, I got smacked around pretty good by a very arrogant actor in that movie when I get beat up, and then after he smacked me around.
In real life, like he beat you up?
His name was John Deal, yeah. And,
I'm sorry, what's his name?
His name's John Deal. He was, you've seen him, look him up.
Okay.
He, afterwards, Damon came up to me, took me aside, and he's like, don't ever let anybody touch you that again. That's why they have stunt people. And I learned a very important lesson that day. It's just to have clear boundaries and not let anybody cross your boundaries. And if they do, then you should speak up, and they should pay the price for whatever
Mark,
the situation is. It was a good lesson.
Yeah, okay, that is a good lesson, but it was also a good part for you. That was a good.
Mo Money?
Yeah.
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
What was
really
that like
part.
walking the streets when that movie was out and about? Like people come up to you? Tell me about that.
Well, here's my funny story about that. Is I had moved to LA after I did that movie, but then I ended up replacing George Wendt in a play in Chicago called Wild Men. So I had left Bev in our new apartment in LA.
Which apartment was this?
The one on Mansfield.
Okay.
And I went back to Chicago to do the play, and that's when the movie came out. So I was at a Cubs game at Wrigley Field, and everybody's turning around and staring at me, like, and I'm getting really freaked out. I'm like, this is what fame is like. Everybody reckon. And then about an hour later, I turn around, and Jim McMahon, the quarterback from the Bears, is sitting right behind me with his kid. It's like they were looking at me at all. It's like fucking hilarious.
That is funny, man.
Yeah,
that is funny.
There's the ego getting in your way.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, so you do the play in Chicago, you come back, and you start doing your career. Did you move to LA because you shot Mo Money and you thought, all right, this is the time for me to get to LA?
I moved to LA because managers and agents had came to Chicago and seen me at Second City and wooed me out to LA. They wanted me to come out here. They wanted to represent me. They wanted to get me work, and so they were asking me, begging me to come to Los Angeles, and I did.
And what year was that?
That was 1990, 91, October.
Okay. What was your first credit when you got here? Was it Seinfeld?
It was a show called Down the Shore.
Okay.
So look that one up. That was my first sitcom, I think, that I did. Yeah, Seinfeld was a few years later.
Again, when you got here, knowing that you just did a play, you just replaced George Wendt, you're on a movie with Damon Wayans, are you going, all right, man, my career is going to take off, I'm going to be a big celeb? Yeah. You thought everything, right?
Yeah, you just think that's going to be your norm for the rest of your life, or further up, you know.
Right. So how long did that feeling last?
Till like last week.
Okay. Well, no, I'm just saying, did you kind of like get out here and go, wow, I kind of thought the phone would ring more? Or did you?
Well, you're immersed in it, right? So you don't. Michael Gelman had a great note once as an improviser. You can walk through a forest and you're on a path, and you can walk over here and see this group of trees, and walk over here and this group of trees, and walk for minutes, days, hours, miles, months, and see another group of trees. But as long as you have your 2 feet planted on the ground, you never see the whole forest at once. Wow. And it's a great metaphor, because when you're immersed in this industry, you never see the big picture. I mean, some people have more of a business mind. Most actors aren't good business people, so we don't have a projection or a future. You can do, I love Law of Attraction and Abraham Hicks. The books Ask and It Is Given is like brilliant to me. It's a great Bible. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
What's it called?
It's called Ask and It Is Given by Esther
Abraham?
and Jerry Hicks. Abraham Hicks.
Okay.
And it's just you can create your life, because and like I say in The Secret, thoughts are things. So you definitely want to project and create what you want to get out of life.
Were you thinking these thoughts back then, Mark?
No, I didn't know anything about that.
Okay.
I just knew I was going to be, who I was going to be at the moment.
Okay, so you get out here. When do you? Okay, and you book that show that you cannot really remember, or I can remember.
Down the Shore, yeah.
Down the Shore. What's the next one? When does Seinfeld come?
Seinfeld was like 93 or 94, I think.
What was that like working on Seinfeld?
That was really exciting. It was my first day on the set was a table read. Back then, you actually got paid for the whole week, no matter how big
You're
your
right,
part was.
exactly. But Mark, I'm going to stop you right there. Did you audition for this? Was
Yeah,
is there
I auditioned.
somebody you knew? Somebody? How did you get this audition?
Oh, Mark Hirschfeld was the casting director, and he was a fan of mine from Chicago and from Second City, and brought me in for a lot of stuff back in those days. He was a champion for me and kept bringing me in. And the Seinfeld people loved me. They wanted to hire me, but they couldn't find the right part for me. So I auditioned for probably about maybe 10 or 12 episodes before they actually hired me for the one I got. Yeah.
And when you auditioned each time, was everybody in the room, or you would just put? Okay, so every time you wouldn't see Jerry, right? You would see Larry.
No, Jerry was there too for the auditions. A lot of them. By the time I got there, they have pre-auditions just for the casting director, and then they have producer sessions. And back in those days, if you had enough of a resume and a pedigree, you'd miss the interview and just go to the producer session.
Which is the best.
Yeah, and so I used to just go to a lot of producer sessions, and they were all in the room back then. The writers,
and it's a great room because it's a small little room. Everyone's loud. Everyone's in a good mood because they're creating.
You're doing a show.
Yes.
It's a show.
Yes.
It's like an instant fucking get in there, have a good time, make them laugh, and leave an impression one way or the other.
Yeah, and sometimes you're booking the job between like you auditioning, just you walking into the room saying something funny.
Well, there's a great story I have about that. Is one time I was a commercial audition for some restaurant, and there was a little short woman who was as round as she is tall, and she had to hit me with a spatula, and we were auditioning, and she smacked me really hard with the spatula during the audition in between the lines, like she was supposed to. And then they yelled cut, and she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, did I hurt you?" And I go, "Lady, if I don't get this job, I'm gonna fucking kick your ass." And everybody laughed. And then when I got the part, I was in the wardrobe getting measured, and the woman said, "Which one of you said you were going to kick that woman's ass?" And the other guys pointed to me, and she goes, "That's got you the job."
Okay.
So you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Right.
I love a good room.
Yeah.
I love a good room. Okay, so you finally booked Seinfeld. You're there for a week. You're there at the table read.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was longer than a week because the Northridge earthquake hit in the middle of it.
Wow.
So we started working. Back then, you could work any 5 days you want. So they started on Sunday because nobody was on the lot that day.
And that's CBS Radford, right?
Yeah. So we worked on Sunday, and then Sunday night, the Northridge earthquake hit, and that was the stage that supposedly got shooken up the most. Then we had to wait 3 or 4 weeks before we went back to work.
Was the Seinfeld show, was it a mecca thing at this time, or was it still kind of like building up?
No, it was huge by then. Yeah.
And when you walked on the set, because
the 5th season, I think.
Okay.
Or 6th season, something.
There's nothing better than walking on to the set when there's nobody there. It's just you, and you're seeing the kitchen and stuff like that. Does that surreal for you? I mean, did you?
Well, I was used
did
to
you
it by
appreciate
then.
it?
Yeah. We didn't have cell phones back then. We didn't take. We didn't have selfies of every fucking set we've ever worked on.
Right.
It wasn't documented like that. But yeah, you're in just walking in the back lot of any studio and seeing the fake facades that they shoot all the westerns and stores and New York City streets, and that is just.
I've never gotten tired
to this
of that.
day.
Yeah.
No, to this day, it's a thrill.
Yes, it really is.
It's like being in an amusement park.
Yes.
And sometimes after I'll just walk around because I don't want to leave.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
I just love the energy of being on there and thinking of all the history and people that have walked down those streets and shot on those stages and all the stories and amazing. I'm still a fan.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you shoot that and you had the best time ever. Did you get some good laughs?
Yeah, that was great. Well, I was thrilled and flattered. The first day of the table read.
Tell me your
part.
part.
Talking about this
After you did this story,
yeah.
tell me your part.
Well, I sat down at the table read waiting for everybody, and Michael Richards comes walking in, and he's like, "Hey, I know you. You do improv. You're really funny. You do what I do. We do the same thing. You're like," and he's like, and I'm like, "Wait a second, I'm supposed to be saying this stuff to you." It was a total reversal, and he, in front of everybody, was just commenting about how great he thought I was because he had seen me at the Upfront Comedy Showcase in Santa Monica. And so from that moment on, it was a shoo-in, and, you know, I got to sit around in between the setups and talk to Jerry, who was having dating issues at the time, and I remember talking to him about the girlfriend he was dating and worked at Jerry's Deli. And
which one? What Jerry's Deli? One in the Studio City?
She worked on one. No, she worked on the one right
in Beverly.
Right here on Beverly. Yeah. That
Rest
was
in
across
peace.
from Mount Sinai or Sinai.
Yeah.
Cedar Sinai. So yeah, those I was very comfortable, and I learned very early on that Larry David was God. And so if you said something to a PA, they would go to the second AD go to the first AD would go to somebody else would go to Larry. And so I just started going right to Larry. I was like, hey, you like this shirt? What do you want? You want them to change this? Instead of waiting for the wardrobe, people to go through the chain of command, because Larry's sitting there talking to somebody, so I would just walk up to him. So I kind of had a little bit of a rapport with him as well. So that was kind of fun, which is sort of how I got into Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Tell me your part, because the thing about Seinfeld, the thing about Seinfeld, if you describe just one part of the Seinfeld show, it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best thing about Seinfeld.
So the episode's called The Pie, and I go on. There's a suit that I fight with. There's a suit at a store that I fight with. Alexander. Jason Alexander with, and then he has a job interview. And he steals the suit from me, hides it. Next day, there's a mannequin that looks like Elaine at the store. It's also Poppy doesn't wash his hands, and Jerry's on a date with this girl. So it's called The Pie because they're all related to pie. And at the end, he's at a job interview, and I'm the chef, and I serve them a complimentary piece of pie. And Jason Alexander won't touch it, and everybody else eats it. And he says, if you don't eat this pie, you don't get the job. And then everybody else at the table got sick because I just put Ipecac in the pie or something.
Right, okay.
Anyways, that's the premise. That's what I did.
Okay, well...
also, by the way, my character was called Fat Guy. And I was like, Jerry, really? Do we have to call it Fat Guy? He goes, what do you want to call it? I go, I don't care, Bob. So to this day, the credit in Seinfeld says Bob, played by Mark Beltzman.
Look at you, man. You're always leaving your mark in some way, somehow. Okay, you shoot that. What's the next big thing right after that? As I say, I'm not going to go through every...
Billy Madison, I guess.
Okay, let's talk about your Adam Sandler connection.
Mm-hmm.
When you went to go audition for Billy Madison, and that was a big move for you. That was a big...
Yeah.
Tell me, how did you get the audition? Tell me about that.
My agent at the time...
just calls you up, says you have an audition. There was no connection there.
No connection whatsoever. It was at Universal. I remember the audition. And
when you went to audition, was it just for the casting director, or was Adam in there?
Just casting director.
Putting you on
camera.
tape?
Adam actually wanted his friend Alan Covert to play my role. But he didn't have enough money and power at that time to pull that string. So Universal made him hire me. For whatever reason. I don't know how that happened. But.
And how long did you work on that movie? You had a great part in that.
I had a great part, and I wasn't even here. I was performing at a comedy festival in Ireland. It was actually a theater festival in Kilkenny, Ireland, and my agent had to track me down, and I got a call from somebody saying, your agent's on the phone. They go, Mark, you got the part, you got to get to Toronto right now. And I'm like, I'm performing at a festival. They're like, sorry, you got to get on a plane like right this minute.
Did you have to pay for that airline ticket, by the way?
No, that was all set up.
Okay.
That back in those days, the studio had to fly you first class. They couldn't find me a first class ticket. But, so I had to fly from Ireland straight to Toronto. And
okay, how many weeks did you shoot on that?
I was there for 2 months because they fired the first director. So they had one director who he was sending his dailies back to Los Angeles, and Universal didn't like what he was doing, so they fired him. We sat around for about a week before they hired Tamara Davis, who ended up directing the film. Actually, Sandler pretty much directed it, and she would go, is this okay, is this okay, is this okay? So it was really a collaborative effort, but she got the directing credit.
Okay, so you do that comes out. Are people noticing you this time, or are they still noticing Jim McMahon behind you?
Jim McMahon behind me. Occasionally, I would get recognized from time to time, but yeah, I couldn't ever say I was really famous, but yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's start. Okay, let's start talking about repeat business. Larry David hiring you for Curb Your Enthusiasm. How did that come about? Did you just have an audition? You walk into the room. Hey, it's Mark.
Jeff Garland. It was his idea to create Curb because he had an office next to Larry David. He went into Larry David's office one day and said, you know, when Seinfeld's over, you might want to try this. And that was the idea that they. And so when the show became a reality, Larry hired Jeff to be on the show, and Jeff's wife at the time, Marla, was a casting director. So she cast it. So she called me in for that, and it was all improvised. You would get a little slice of paper with a scenario on it, and then you'd improvise all your dialogue
with those guys.
With Larry, yeah. And so that's how I got hired, because Marla brought me in. I knew Jeff, and they, I'm sure, you know, spoke very highly of me at the time.
Does Jeff Garland still have an office here at Farmers Market?
I believe so. I see him around.
Me too.
Every once in a while. He has meetings here every once in a while.
Okay, so you do that. That's great. Okay, tell me about when you go back to work for Adam Sandler in The Wedding Singer.
That was a result of he had promised me a part in Happy Gilmore, and my part got written out before they started shooting.
How did he promise you a part in a movie?
Oh, he just said, "Don't worry, Beltzman, you're in my next movie." You know, that kind of thing.
Okay.
It was, you know, nothing. There was no contract or anything, but it was just we were hanging out a little bit, and I would, you know, see him around, and he would go, "Yeah, you're in my movie," and then I wasn't, and so when he did Wedding Singer, which was the movie that followed that, he just gave me that part.
Really?
Yeah.
And you had the Flock of Seagulls hairdo in that one, right?
I had the Flock of Seagulls, which was actually that was his line. Do you like Flock of Seagulls? And I was fucking with him on set, and I jumped and just said his line to him, and he goes, "No, but I can see you do," and that got left in the movie.
That's a funny part.
That's
a funny part.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mark, you start working. Tell me, okay, let's start kind of going towards the end of the career. Is there anything in the middle that I need to know about? Because Mark, I guess
I don't know what you're shooting for here.
I don't know what I'm trying to shoot for either, but I'm at minute 27, and I like to keep it around 30 to 35. So we're gonna start winding.
Into 2 episodes.
Well, no.
Right.
We're not winding down, but we're kind of going towards.
I've seen longer episodes than that, but whatever.
Well, Mark, I say that. Mark, I say it, and it still goes another 20 minutes.
All right.
Okay, so don't think I'm cutting you off right now. I'm just saying.
I gotta get going.
I gotta go. But you do. What's the middle? When do you start? Okay, I'll tell you this. I ask you this question so we can buy more time.
All right.
You start teaching at Second City here, which is where and how I officially meet you.
Right. We became good friends.
But at first, I'd be in class with Craig Anstead, Derek Waters, some other people. But
what a great
it was a great crew,
folks, Yeah.
But all the teachers kind of never really struck a chord with me, you know. Not saying that they weren't bad teachers, but you came along and you kind of pushed me more than anyone else. You didn't. You're like, "Hey, Culp, you're being lazy with this scene. Culp, you could do better than this." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm making everybody laugh." "Yeah, dude, but that's a cheap laugh. You need to go for it." And I'm like, "Belts, come on, dude." But you would constantly push me. So that's the reason why I've always loved you, because you were the first teacher who actually taught me. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, that just bought us 3 minutes.
Okay.
But Belts, you being a teacher in Second City, you taught a lot of people, dude. And you always had this one type of teaching tool, which is when you're on stage, act like it's it's Toy Story. You remember this? Advice that you gave me one time?
Yeah, use your imagination, limitless imagination.
Yes, like those toys are talking. I mean, that's
pictures talk.
Right.
Toys talk. Harry Potter.
Okay.
Toy Story. I remember encouraging you as a class to watch that movie together.
Yes. Something happened because that class, I mean, a good chunk of that group always stuck together.
Well, that was the first couple years of Second City.
We were the grandfathers. We were the very first ones to go through that.
That's where I was going. Yeah, that was the school had just started in Los Angeles, and that first wave of students were very fortunate to be in a place where we were all not only trying to create something magical, and did, but everybody was trying to find their footing. You know, we had a syllabus in Second City, but LA and Chicago are two completely different animals.
And Second City, and they tried Second City out here before, and it really didn't work out.
No, it closed. It was at the Mayfair Theater in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And I'd performed there once or twice, and yeah, it didn't work. They wanted to be more in the TV production side of the industry, and you become your environment, right? So the environment in Los Angeles is movies and television, and that kind of takes precedence. Because at Second City, you're in a company for a year, maybe 2 or 3 years. And here, if you start a company, everybody's auditioning for movies and television, so you're going to take a month off and go do a movie, or not be at a show because you're shooting late into the night on a TV show or whatever. And so it pulls away from the focus of doing the work and creating an amazing show. And everybody, the dynamic is different because of egos. You know, people are jealous that other people are working on movies and television and they're not, or they got the job and they didn't, or they're stuck at the theater doing this and somebody else is making a shitload of fucking money doing sitting around waiting for the camera to get ready. You know?
Yeah.
So there's an ego thing that gets in the way very often, and you have to really be careful of that here in Los Angeles especially.
Mark, what have you, again, we're not stopping right now, what have you learned through all of this? What have you learned through all of this Hollywood?
Well, I tell you, the most important thing you learn is gratitude, to be grateful for what you have. One of the principles of my teaching is figure out what's working and do more of it instead of trying to change and fix what's wrong. And we spend way too much time in our lives as human beings, let alone as actors in Los Angeles, trying to change and fix things so that our future's better. And changing and fixing things doesn't work. So you have to just figure out what's working and do more of it and nurture that and grow that. How do you know what's working and what's not? One makes you smile and one doesn't. One just really inspires you to be a better person, to really have fun doing whatever you're doing, and the other one is just filled with stress, tension, and anxiety. And there's more tension, stress, and anxiety in LA than anything else.
Well, there's anxiety here in LA?
Yeah, I'll say there's a lot of Xanax, let's put it that way.
Okay, Mark, I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
Again, we're not stopping. You're leaving LA. You're not quitting LA, you're leaving LA.
I've been forced out.
You've been forced out. Tell me about this whole thing. You got here, what year did you get out here?
90.
So you got, so what, how many years? Do the math, so yeah. It's a lot of years you've been here.
It's been almost 30 years.
Tell me about the thought process of going, okay, I'm leaving LA.
Well, the industry has changed dramatically. And most of the work that you and I see these days is either ultra low budget, which means instead of getting paid what we used to have as a quote, say $5,000 a week, you get $125 for the day.
Yeah.
And commercials are, for the most part, all buyouts because the union has lost all of their power and the actors have lost all their power and the producers take all the money. So they're not sharing the pie anymore. And there is some SAG and union work out there, but it's very rare, it's very challenging, and even if you do get the union work, instead of getting the week on a set in a sitcom, they pay you for one day. And so it has changed so dramatically, you make so much more, so much less money, and now that SAG and AFTRA have combined, it makes it harder and harder to even make your minimum, to get your health insurance, to get a point for your pension, and it's just not fun anymore. It's just the industry has changed. So I don't see you at auditions anymore. I used to have 2-3 auditions a day, sometimes 5 or 6 a week, easy.
Yeah.
Now I get one every 5 or 6 weeks.
And Mark,
I get an audition for maybe 2 lines on a sitcom, and book it, and you start to internalize it, going, what am I doing wrong? You want to change and fix things.
Yeah.
So you just have to refocus and figure out what's working. What's working is I can travel anywhere in the world and teach a class and be inspired by the people who want to hear what I have to say. And I started Maui Improv 6 years ago. I'm a founder of it. I contributed to.
That's such a smart
the
thing.
founding
You
of Maui
planted
Improv.
something 6
I
years
planted a
ago.
seed,
That's
right.
great, man.
And so if I'm just sitting around here and trying to figure out what to do, I can go there and work and teach and perform and do everything I do there. I can still audition and do, they call them self-tape auditions. I can also just recently, last week, talk to a theatrical agent in Honolulu and sign with them.
Really? Awesome.
So they're shooting Hawaii Five-0 and Magnum PI amongst a million other productions that go there. So I'll test the waters there and see if I can't get... my theory is, and as irony would have it, I'll probably work more in LA after I leave than all the years that I've lived here. So I'm going to try something new. And my wife wants to get out of Los Angeles. She's... retired, and I just filed for my pension, and I figured let's go try something new. And we've done this before. Most people don't know this, but in 2012 I was doing a play, a musical called Reanimator the Musical.
Right.
And we went to New York to do the New York Music Festival on Broadway for a week, and then the whole cast flew to Edinburgh for the Fringe Festival in Scotland in August of 2012. And so my wife and I were living in that Mansfield apartment.
Great apartment, great times
there. We
there.
were there for 21 years, great times, a lot of great parties. And so we...
Why does Andy Dick come to mind?
He gets thrown out of my house more than anybody has ever gotten thrown out of anywhere. By the seat of his pants, by my wife.
Yep.
And so we sold everything we owned. We sold our cars, our clothes, our furniture. We put some stuff in a friend's garage. My wife met me in Edinburgh, the end of the run at the Fringe Festival. We stayed in Scotland for a month. We went to Amsterdam and met some friends, and then I met somebody virtually through an email in London, Jules Munns, who runs the nursery, and I ended up renting a house in London and teaching all over England for almost 6 months.
So that kind of helps you to realize that you can do this somewhere
Right.
else.
And just to tie that up, my wife and I were never more excited in our entire lives in that year.
Really?
We were gone 14 months, and it was just invigorating to, like I say in my improv workshops, and what I teach is the workshops and improv is designed to get you out of your comfort zone.
Hang on, Mark. Hang on. We got a big 18-wheeler going by. Hang on. And it's the littlest thing.
It's tiny. You can pick that up, dude. It's really light.
Okay.
And anyways, what was I saying?
You were talking about Edinburgh, about it was the happiest, exciting time y'all
Life
had.
happens outside of your comfort zone.
Yes,
And
man.
so when you're out of your comfort zone, that's where growth takes place. That's where we grow as human beings. And if you're way out of your comfort zone and you're still smiling, that's where huge growth takes place.
Yeah.
And my wife and I were way outside of our comfort zone, literally improvising our lives. And that's another thing that's really important to me, is not just talk the talk. There's a lot of teachers teaching acting and improv who just talk the talk and don't walk the walk. And it's important for me to actually walk the walk.
Right.
So I literally improvised my life for 14 months with my wife on the road, and we were so fucking fun. Had so much fun, and we're so in love, and we were with each other every day, and we just had a blast. So we're not looking to recreate that, but just close this chapter in LA and open up a new chapter and go to Maui for at least 6 months and figure out if it's a good fit, if we like it, or what our next move might be after that.
Okay, really quick.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up.
No,
Clint,
hang on.
We're running out of time.
Really quick. The day you decided to, hey, Bev, let's just move.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that day, because we all think it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about it all the time, and I hear you, and I'm like, I'm not sad that you're leaving. I'm jealous that you're leaving.
Thank you.
I mean, seriously, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
But tell me, the say you go, you know what? I'm doing it. Because there's a lot of people on the border right now thinking the same thought and doing what you want to do.
We I try and do as much spiritual internal work as I can. So I belong to a men's team. Every Tuesday night from 7 to 10, I meet with them. I've told you about this before. I'm also in a mastermind group with my wife, and we meet via Skype like every 3 weeks. Today at 3:30 we have a meeting for an hour And it was during that mastermind group meeting. I wanted to move to London. I just want to be in Europe, but I can't. I don't have a work visa.
Okay.
So I would like to, and I've been working on trying to get a work visa, get somebody to sponsor me or hire me over there, but they haven't. And Maui was on the table as an option. Of course, Chicago was, New York was. Just get out
I
of
feel like
Los
Chicago
Angeles.
would be kind of like just like LA.
Well, it's sort of taking a step backwards too, because I lived there for many years.
Yeah.
So Maui was an easy decision because I can transition there and work. And, you know, that's all I want to do as a creative source energy guy is work.
Yep.
So I can go there, start classes, I can perform, and we'll see how the Oahu agent thing works out. But we were on that phone call in the mastermind group, and I said, well, I want to go to London. Bev doesn't want to go, and we could move to Maui, but Bev doesn't really want to go. She goes, what do you mean? I would move to Maui. And it was that moment that was like, all right, this is a go. And I started putting out emails and feelers and seeing with my support community and people who have been, carrying the torch in Maui with Maui Improv. And they were very agreeable and supporting me in making this transition. And so it was just an easy, okay, let's go and do this. And right now we're in the middle of figuring out the rest of the pieces of the puzzle.
Okay, are you living your days in LA more now because you realize that days are numbered here, so you're going for it more, or what's that like?
I mean, I'm definitely spiritually more fulfilled and happier knowing that
You're about to get the heck out of here?
I think I'm more excited about leaving LA than I am about going to Maui. It's just, I've been here, done that. It's been 30 years, and I didn't become the $1 million movie actor that I always wanted to be, but
you made influence.
I do have a pension, Screen Actors Guild, and from AFTRA, and you know, how many people can say that they have, for 40 years, done nothing else but act, teach, write, direct, or play the tuba.
Well, I'm proud of you, Mark.
So I
I'm
haven't
proud of
really,
you.
I'm very, very fortunate that I haven't had to have a 9-to-5 job or, do anything else.
Mark, anything else I need to know about you?
That I love you.
I love you. I do. I've always loved you,
Deep
buddy.
respect for you.
Right back at
and
you.
that whole wave of, Second City generation from the early 2001, and Derek Waters and Drunk History and Ben Hoffman doing his thing, and
Wheeler Walker.
Craig Ansett, and I get to watch Eric Edelstein. I'm living in his apartment.
Yeah.
Let's not forget Eric.
I love that place.
I love Eric.
I love
I'm so
him.
grateful. He's been so supportive, and
It's the best group. It's the best group. I'm
really
so
is.
proud and honored to be a part of that group.
Yeah.
I brag about it all the time.
Yeah, and I'm proud to say that I had a little piece of
You did.
influencing
You
some
did.
of
You totally
in the worst
did.
way possible.
Yeah, no, you did. Belts. Again, I love you. I thank you for doing this.
Thank you
And Belts,
for having me.
I want to do this again on the other side of this. I wanted to go
to
to Maui.
Maui.
I will.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell me all about that. All right, buddy. Anything else? Anything else before we say goodbye? All right, Belts.
Portable Clint signing off.